Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to another day of our Summer Reading Club programming. And today is Wednesday. And on Wednesdays, what we like to do are to do different kind of crafts and activities that highlight wellness, happiness, and relaxation in your everyday lives. I know with everything going on with COVID-19 and all of these stresses and concerns all across the world, there's always so much to worry about, and it can be quite taxing on just our overall mental wellness and well-being. So I find days like these, when we can make nice crafts or do activities that kind of take our mind off of the more taxing things that we have to worry about, I think it's really quite relaxing and super important. So for today, what we're going to be making are these rain sticks. And the reason that they are called rain sticks is because if you hear, it makes the sound of falling rain. So it's really fun and an easy craft to make for today. Now, you will need quite a few supplies for today, but nothing too difficult that you can't find in and around the house. But you will need some construction paper. Any color will work. It is completely up to you. You will need some tin foil, baking sheets just like so. You will also need a pair of scissors just for cutting, some tape just to keep everything together, obviously a writing utensil. Grab as well either a toilet paper roll or paper towel roll. Both work just as well. The only difference is with a paper towel roll, it would be a little bit taller, and that will make your rain stick a little bit bigger, as you see here. You will also want to grab some uncooked rice. So raw rice, just like so. You don't need very much. Only a little bit will be okay, because we'll be using 1/4 of a cup of rice today. So if you happen to have a measuring cup, that's 1/4 of a cup. Grab that as well. And one of my favorite parts about the craft is we will be using as you see here, a mop and just a little bit of a baking spoon here. The reason we're going to be using these two objects for today's craft is because with our actual tin foil, what we're going to be doing once it's all cut up is wrapping it around each of these to make spirals, which is pretty cool. So our first step is to grab our tin foil, just like so. And if you happen to have a ruler lying around, that would be wonderful. If not, just eyeball it, it's totally okay. You'll be rolling out approximately 10 inches worth of tin foil. And once you have measured out approximately 10 inches, you're just going to cut the end of it here. And it makes lots and lots of noise, don't worry. There we go, just like so. And as you see, we have our 10-inch bit of tin foil, just like this. Now what you'll want to do next is roll it up so it is a long strand like so. Now, I will do one as a demonstration. Just like this. And then what you'll want to do is just fold it once more so that it becomes a little tighter and sturdier. And will look just like this. Now, our next step is to grab our mop or broom, whatever we find around the house. And I just happen to have this mop lying around, so it works really well. And we will be wrapping our tin foil just loosely around it. And that will create what looks like a little bit of a spiral, just like a spring, something like that. And if you see, it's wrapped around, and then once it's nice and tight, we can release it and just pull it off the end, and you will have your first spiral just like so. Now you'll want to do pretty much the exact same thing with more tin foil, except you want to cut out a little bit less this time. So this one was about 10 inches. The next one you'll want is about 7 inches. So I'm going to cut the edge of mine just like so. So this one is now 7 inches around that long. And we're going to be doing the same thing, but this time grabbing our baking spoon or whatever has a handle or hilt that is a little bit thinner. That way, when we create our spiral, it won't be as wide as this one, and this little spiral will be able to fit inside our bigger one. So we will want to just, again, do the same thing with our tin foil. This time I'm going to do one extra fold, because that way it becomes a little bit wirier and a little bit thinner. There we go. As you see, just like this. And then you're going to want to just wrap it around your spoon or whatever you have around the house. And that will create a thinner spiral. There we go, just like so. And then again, you can pull that off when you're finished. And one of the best parts is you can then put your tiny spiral and just weave it into your larger one here. Now, it can be difficult to fit in, don't worry, as long as it's just weaved in between, as you see with this one, because once we actually start assembling our rain stick, this is the part that the rice then falls through to make the sound of the rain falling. So, our next step, once you have your spirals ready, is to grab a round object that you have around the house, and again, your toilet paper or paper towel roll can work perfectly for this, and then just put it right over your construction paper. And then you will want to then trace out a circle, just like so. Awesome. And if it takes an extra minute to trace out the circle, don't worry, it can take some time, just like so. And that will be your first circle. You'll want to do this twice, so 2 tracings. And once you have your first circle finished, you will want to trace out a bigger circle around it, around these 2 circles, because that will be used for the base of our rain sticks here. And if you see, the reason why we don't just use these tiny circles, but we trace out bigger ones around it, is because when we cut it out, not only will the first circle fit around here at the bottom or at the top, but you also want some overlap, so then you can tape them around the corner here so there are no holes, which is really, really helpful later on. So I just have a little bit of a yogurt container here. I'll be using that for my second circle. There we go, and if it's not perfectly straight, that's okay, but that'll be your second circle, and do that for the next one too. And try your best to get it as close to the middle as possible. Mine aren't super, super close to the middle, but that's okay. Okay, and now once you have your circles ready, you will cut them out. Go. And I will have a bigger circle that when you grab your paper towel roll, you see there is a little bit overlap. It's bigger than it needs to be, and that's good, because what we'll be doing next is on just the corners here, you want to put these little cuts with your scissors. And what that will do is it will allow us to actually fold our circles here once we put them on the bottom like this. So because they can fold, we will then fold them and tape them to each side, just like so. Now, this is when you grab your tape, and I'd recommend just getting a few ready for later, because especially when you're doing this craft alone, it can be difficult to hold the folds of the paper onto your paper towel roll while you are needing to tape them as well. just like that. But I will put mine like so, and then I will fold them, and again, grab the tape, and then just tape them down slowly. This craft will use quite a bit of tape, just because you want to use a little bit extra just in case you need it, to make sure that when you have finished with your rain stick, there aren't any unnecessary holes, which would create a chance of the rice falling out at the end, and we don't want that. So you see, our first end is on and taped on. Next, we will just grab the other side and tape that down, like so. And I will grab some more tape. And I found something that I did differently from the second time that I made this craft was when I had taped down this one, I then move over to this side and tape down this side, as opposed to going around it and taping one beside it, because then it'll create a little bit of a lip and it'll be a little bit harder to fold on the circle afterwards. So if you go across from it, it makes it a little bit easier to tape and fold later on. Just like so. So our second one is done, and then we will do the next two ends. Again, doing the exact same thing, taping down the paper, making sure it's nice and folded and tight, because we don't want any holes. Otherwise, if there are any holes, our tinfoil and rice that will be going in their next step will all fall out, and that's not something that we want. There we go, almost finished. And I just need one more. And then just like that, as you see, we now have our nicely taped base, so nothing will come out. This is now when we grab our spirals, our one big spiral and our one tinier spiral that are nice and spiraled together here. And we will then insert them into our paper towel roll here, just in the loose end at the top. And then we'll be grabbing our rice, and this is when you measure out 1/4 of a cup, just like so. If a little bit extra or a little bit too little is totally okay. Both work just as fine, and as you can see, you can create a little bit of a mess. So either just grip it with your hand to make sure none falls out, or if you need, grab a funnel, that works just as well. And then once you have done that and you have your rice and tinfoil in the top, you will then cut out your second traced circle right here, and that will be the top of your rain sticks. Yeah, this craft thankfully isn't too difficult today, and it takes a little bit of time to make, don't get me wrong, but it is well worth it in the end because it makes an incredibly relaxing and stimulating craft. Just like so. So our second circle is nicely cut out, and then just do the exact same thing where you make these little cuts, 4 of them. Just like that, as you see, the 4 cuts. And I will then be placing it on top, getting my tape ready. And you rinse and repeat what you did at the bottom. And then that will make a nice seal on your rain sticks, which is exactly what you want to make sure everything stays nice and snug. There we go. And then again, do the other side once you have finished with the one side. Just like that. Both sides are done, and then you go on to the sides that are not yet taped. Just like that, as you see. And last side here. If you need to use quite a bit of tape, I would recommend it, because you can never go wrong in using tape. Okay, and just like that, the top is now all finished. And if you hear that, you have just made your rain stick. Now you can add however much or as little detail as you would like to your rain sticks, completely up to you. As you see with this one, I just wrapped a little bit of extra construction paper around it, but you can leave it blank. You can add some neat designs to it, drawing, coloring, painting, anything you so wish to do. But that'll be everything for today's craft. Thank you guys so much for joining me as always, and I hope you enjoyed this really, really relaxing craft today, and have a stupendous rest of your day. Have a good one, everyone.